For the third time in a row, we've seen the protagonists at the top of the points rotate from season to season. But that doesn't mean we've been devoid of familiar faces. Sanchez, Trangeray, Topi, Claridge, they're all still potential threats to Shedlick or Gronkowski taking a championship. Who will leave Zolder with the points lead? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Zolder is perhaps most known for the chicanes littering the lap. Let's head to our track guide to show you what we mean. Welcome to Zolder, a temporary home for the Belgian Grand Prix in the 70s and 80s. In present day, it's mainly used for GT and lower-level formula racing. The track sits in the northeast corner of the country near Hasselt, nestled right up against the Albert Canal. The two raceable layouts are essentially the same, save for the tightness of the Jackie Ick chicane. Both are just under 2.5 miles and have 10 turns. While the track had some sadly infamous moments for Formula One, it remains a popular venue. Its most notable feature is the plethora of chicanes that scatter the lap. The slowdown penalties drivers receive for cutting the course at them can tend to be race-defining. But more worrisome are the monstrously large curbs parked at the apexes that have been known to tear apart wings and suspensions. Passing tends to be difficult, with only 2 spots offering out-braking zones that aren't into chicanes. The Boulderberg hairpin is the easier of the two, while Erst is a medium-speed, downhill, off-camber 90-degree turn. To say it proves troublesome to get right, even when not in a battle, is an understatement. While the lap opens up with many of those swift, wide-radius corners, the rest of the turns are almost all hard braking zones. High-powered cars with little downforce do need to be careful between the Kleine chicane and Butte, because there's a large crest that can catch you out. Winning here will require precision and patience. Belgian fans may have the more famous Spa to choose from, but you can't go wrong with the consistently good action this track puts forward. Well, Christian, for a car that we often talk about, it doesn't like slow corners, it doesn't like chicanes. I'm not sure how this is going to fit, but it is something of an old school track. So how do you feel like it'll fare?
Well, definitely, I would normally agree, but in actuality, I think that Zolder is one of the tracks kind of more suited to the 49 because it's one of the few cars that can actually kind of get over the curbing here without really suffering too many problems. So it's probably more fun in the 49 than it is, say, a GT3 car, and certainly those chicanes are going to provide quite a few passing opportunities for us today.
We'll see who can get those passes done, but as we take a look at the championship standings, Jordan Gronkowski leads Shedlick, having had 2 second places, and he's still looking for that first win in the series. Sanchez trailing behind them with Trangeray close behind, and Bill Tyler a single point back, sitting in 5th. What about the F2 championship, Christian?
Well, Jorge Neva is actually still our leader in the F2 Championship, but it's a tie. Matt right now is on the exact same number of points with 77 as him. Matthew Maudsley, he's 5 points back, so it's a pretty tight fight actually for that top spot. Marco Salgado, he's 14 points back, but he's in a tight fight for 4th place with Michael Grissinger, who is 15 points off the lead.
As for the Nations Cup, the United Kingdom currently leads that one with a very tight fight with the United States, interestingly enough, as Spain and Finland, separated by just 1 point, have Norway kind of looking on, thinking that maybe Trangeray could overtake both of them. As for the race details, why don't you walk us through, Christian?
Well, obviously Zolder round 3 of 12, so a quarter point of the season so far. 23 laps around here today. Open setup as always in the 49 and no spare car. So got to get through those chicanes cleanly on that first lap.
And we now head off to the qualifying session, of course, as the drivers are getting ready to set some times here. It can take a little bit to get around with those chicanes, longer than you'd think for such a short lap around here. And nobody has set one yet. We're watching the number 20 fly down through the 27, actually, here, fly down through the final chicane, Ick chicane, and put one on the board. Or at least I thought put one on the board. No, it looks like that is the start of a flyer as we watch from Randy Huff coming down into the second corner. Sternenvacht swings back the start of 3 right-handers. Perhaps, I guess, the more of the swifter corners around this track, Christian.
Yeah, definitely kind of the high-speed corners, and then this last right that he's come up to now are very, very critical because of us the run onto the straightaway, but more so because it kind of tricks you into wanting to run really, really wide, and you can get away with kind of putting the left sides out in the gravel, but you've got to be really careful with it. And down into the chicane, you can really, really cut the apex curves a lot with the 49, and you can't really do that in other cars, so it's actually a bit more open, and it's quite fun. This has the best curb ever on the left here. I always touch it with the left front, no matter what, no matter the car. It just makes a great sound. Second chicane, a little bit slower than the first one, a little bit more kind of lethargic through there. And then this right-hander up the hill, it's really, really tricky in any car because it's just really low grip. I've never really understood why, but it's just very, very difficult to put the power down. The hairpin at the end of the lap can be a possible passing spot, I would say, especially if you kind of got a better run out of the prior chicane. But it's very, very difficult because it's such a short run there that you can kind of just, overestimate your capability on the brakes.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that really likes that curb on Butte. So
it's amazing. It's honestly, it's my absolute favorite curb in iRacing. It feels good. It just really does. One of the reasons I actually like Zolder so much is, to be honest, not really the racing around here, but the curbs. The curb sounds at this track are just the one of my and just favorite things on iRacing generally.
Well, Jorge Nieva briefly held the pole position as Jim Shedlick puts it 1.2 seconds away from Nieva. So now we've got a real marker thrown down, and we're still waiting on guys like Sanchez, Trangray to set a lap. I wonder if any of them have failed to set a time in that first one. Not seeing Trangray having missed one. He can often find himself under the gun for that second one. But there we see Shedlick on your screen, heading down towards the Kleine chicane. Still nobody has gotten within those 1.2 seconds. Quellen sits in fourth. John Olsen sits in third. And, there we go. Trangray finally puts one down, and he is 4/10 away. That's a little bit more representative, but man, Jim looking to go back-to-back and sitting in a good position of qualifying as anything to go by.
Yeah, it's always nice to have such a strong first lap as well. It means that you can just really push on that second lap. So I wouldn't actually be too surprised if we see him go even quicker here. But Ove kind of a little bit in no man's land there in second spot. He's kind of got about a half a second both in front and both behind.
Absolutely. Still haven't seen Sanchez put one down. Matthew Maudsley up to fifth and now bumped to sixth as Nieva's second lap brings him back into fourth. And, some of the F2 drivers have really picked up the pace at this track. And Trangray thought for a second he was going slowly from that shot, but just a trick of the eye. And Shedlick goes even faster. It is now a 28 flat. Trangray has to make up 7/10 of a second. That's not counting Sanchez, Ho, Summers, Simon, Giteau, who all still need to set a time, but it doesn't look like Ove is going to get a good one as he spun the tires up coming off of the Boulderberg hairpin. So now we look at Nieva, who gets slotted down into fifth, and over to Quellen. Oh, Quellen was the one that took fourth. Interesting stuff. Not sure what has gotten into our F2 drivers today, but they have found some sort of trick around here.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of those drivers having a really good qualifying session. And, we always say it's important in the 49. The race is not that long, but especially around here, passing is difficult. It's a little bit easier in the 49 than other cars, but it is still a hard track to pass on. So qualifying is very, very important around here.
So Nieva has already finished his 2 laps. I'm looking at Rickley, who puts on a 31.4. That's an improvement up to 18th. And anybody else able to set a time? Andre Giteau still needs one in these last minute and a half. Otherwise, nobody else is able to set a time. So let's see if Giteau is able to go any higher. Well, he hopefully can go higher because it looks like his first lap was deleted. So the 25 comes down into the Ick chicane and gives the curbs, the sausage curbs, a bit of a wide berth down to the timing line, all the way off to the right-hand side. A 35 perfectly flat, and that will put him into 26, last of the drivers who have set a time. which means our grid is now set. And as we said, Jim Shedlick, my goodness, it looks to be in his hands in this race. Let's hope he can keep this up. Ove Trangrade will do his best to challenge him, but it's not looking hopeful. Richard Yolland will start from third as Gary Quellen starts from fourth, and Jorge Nieva with a great qualifying there for fifth. Xavier Sanchez, P6 for him, followed by John Olson in seventh. Matthew Maudsley all the way up into eighth, with Miro Hraske on the inside of the next row, and Laust Olsen rounding out your top 10.
Bill Tyler, a driver we've seen fight for top fives. He's a little bit out of position today. He's lining up in 11th alongside Bruce Nelson in 12th. Glenn Becker lines up 13th. Robert Plumley, another driver we've seen pick up top fives. He's back there in 14th. Marco Chiodi in 15th with Will Lamb in 16th. Emmanuel Pereira, a nice qualifying by him in 17th with Damian Rickley in 18th. Jacob Desmaris and Andrew Eng round out the top 20.
Randy Huff, good enough for 21st. Tobias Harnvey will be 22nd. Timothy Porter will start from 23rd today. Magnus Einerson in the 24th spot is followed by Jason Steinhurst, 25th, and Juteau, the last of them, to set a time in 26. Ho Summers, Simon Reynolds will start from the back of our 30-car field, which is now starting to line up here today. And before we go to racing, a reminder to check out our sponsor, the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. And if you use our special discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off your order. Just about have everybody out there. They've got a minute left to put themselves on the track. It's rather cool today as it is early in the morning, virtual time. It's 9:40 a.m. and it's only 65 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface itself, 18 Celsius, with a very slight wind as Shedlick lines himself up on the grid. Waiting on a couple more, Christian, and we'll see if these guys feel like this car fits here.
Yeah, and a very, very cold track temperature, actually. So it's going to be a little bit tricky to get going, but then there'll be a lot of grip available after that. And, you know, it's quite narrow grid here, so you've got to really be on the ball, because any mistake, and there's not really much opportunity to kind of get around a car, you know, that's kind of slow. So just got to be careful.
Yeah, you can see it's a downhill start here into Erst, and walls on either side, so no place to go if something starts to erupt. Not often we see big pileups here, but we'll see if they can avoid that today as the engines now start to rev and the lights come up for round 3. The green flag is out. Jim Shedlick looks decent off the line, but it's a very good start for Yolland, who shoots himself into second. It's a horrible start for second place starter Ove Trangrade. He's going to fall all the way down, potentially to 6th. So we got a spinner into Erst. That's Hraske. Spins somebody else around. Everybody else is going to have to avoid him on the racing line. Not sure who exactly that was, but they were plumb in the middle of the exit.
And one of our F2 drivers who's fighting for that championship, Matthew Maudsley, the 15, he was involved in that. And Hraske looks like he's having to park the car.
That is a shame. Very first corner and having your day ended like that. It's not that long of a race to try and get the car repaired, unfortunately. As we fly into the Kleine chicane, already pretty much everybody in a single file line. Little bit of battles towards the back as they try to sort the order out. Oh, and we had a coming together between Summers and Juteau, and Robert Reynolds is on his lid. So is Lance Simon. We'll have to get back to that in a bit. But yeah, cars went tumbling.
Yeah, a tumble, that's one way to put it. Someone was barrel rolling for about 500 feet back there.
So they've now come into Boulderberg, and out of that corner, Shedlick already 1.2 seconds ahead. And we haven't even finished the first lap. Yolland trying to hold on to that second place that he's inherited with that great start. Jorge Nieva is challenging him. John Olson is promoted up to 4th. Trangrade from the front row down to 5th.
Yeah, pretty amazing opportunity here for Nieva for that F2 championship. He's up in 3rd, and he looks like he might have pace to challenge Yolland. So if he can come away from a 2nd place overall here, that's going to be massive. It's going to be really hard to overhaul that in points.
So it looks like out of those involved in the incidents, Juteau's able to keep going. Poor Ben Summers is limping his way back to the pits. But we got a bit of a battle with Laust Olsen. And this is Bill Tyler to his inside, fighting for 8th position. Side by side through Bianchi. They're going to be extremely slow. And Giotti knows it. He's already on the attack scene if he can come up on the inside of Bill Tyler. Looking for it, but brakes a little earlier.
Yeah, and I think that was a good decision so early in the race. But, you know, a pretty good battle, especially around such a dangerous corner so early on.
And down into the chicanes as we ride on board. This is Nieva, who is still chasing on Richard Yalland for that second place. Also behind them, it is getting very close between Trangrade and Olsen. In fact, Trangrade's having a go at things down to the inside of Boulderberg. Can't get it off the corner as quickly. Olsen streaks away.
Yeah, I think Trangrade knows that if he wants any chance at winning this race, he needs to clear his way back up to second place as quickly as possible, because Shedlick's already got 2 seconds over Yalland, and we've seen how fast Shedlick is, and it's going to be really, really difficult to close down any gap to him if it opens up.
Yeah, the American's certainly going to add points today for his country, and we see him setting the fastest lap of the race. Oh, Harnvee's heading off at the Ix chicane and is trying to get the car back going. Not sure if he had some contact, but he's going to lose almost a dozen places before he's able to get rolling. As we continue to watch on board, Trangrade a full half second behind Olsen. That's a little too far back for anything into Kleina. And he's going to have to set it up for a little bit later. Ahead of him, Nieva is starting to approach on Yalland. Gets to within 0.2 of a second into that first chicane. Let's see if he's closer into the second one.
It's always difficult to make a pass into the second chicane. You just have to really, really commit to it, and there's no opportunity for any kind of error. You know, because of how tight it is. If you misjudge the braking even slightly, you're essentially going to have to skip that second part of it.
It's probably one of my least favorite chicanes in all of iRacing, if I'm honest. Wow, look at swinging around the outside. That was Trangrade in the background, who didn't actually make the move, but certainly looked like he was for a brief moment. And heading back through Jochen Rentz and down towards Ix. This is the heavier version, the heavier braking version of this track. So one more passing spot for these cars. And he gets right on top of the gearbox of John Olsen as they plunge down the hill to start lap 4.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite have, you know, long enough a straightaway into turn 1. And turn 1's a corner that has very a lot of line divergence through it. You can take quite a few different entries to the corner, and you know, sometimes that can end up with some crossover, but we haven't seen that yet, but I think we might later in the race.
Indeed, and so we see these third, fourth, and fifth place drivers all vie for that second spot. Yalland retains the desired P2, about the best anybody can do if you're not Jim Shedlick today, it looks like, because he's now 3.3 seconds ahead. A little slow off the corner. Did Yalland get a cut course? No, he did not. He's just slow, and that opens up the door for Nieva, who goes on the attack, and he's going to take second place away.
Yeah, really nice pass. He just got a much, much better exit out of Klein, and that just gave him the rundown boot.
And there's Olsen now under attack. I think Trangrade's got a good shot at it. This is the best one we've seen from him, actually getting to the inside this time. But he's got to be better on the throttle, pinched down, very tight corner, side by side, and eventually he comes out ahead in Rent. Job done.
Yeah, Rent's always kind of one of those weird corners that you don't really want to be side by side through, because you're just never really sure where the other driver's going to go, because it's a straight line if you're, you know, on your own, but when you're side by side, it's really not. So always a bit unnerving to be side by side through there.
Absolutely. And as they come up to the first corner once again, hearing some drivers. Oh, Huff looks like he has been overtaken by Plumley there, unless that was him already ahead. Yeah, looks like Plumley did get by. That is for 13th, so Huff has to try and see if he can regroup and get that one back. Let's take a look at the replay on how this happened. And
looked like he set a slowdown.
Yeah, that or lost traction. And so that is going to give him the spot. And Actually, since we've taken a glance at the replay, I'm looking through. Oh, well, no, Sanchez just got by Quellen once again in the second chicane. This one, though, I think once Quellen was under attack, he just could not do anything but take a dive across the curbs. Yeah, there you can see very late move. It was either wreck or bail.
Yeah, I mean, he came from very, very far back, and Quellen just, I think he made the decision to cut across the curbing just to make sure there was no contact. I mean, there very nearly was on the final right-hand section.
Unfortunate for his case, but sometimes it's better to see that checkered flag. So Sanchez up to 6th with that one. I think we've got an opportunity to try and take a look at some of those opening wrecks if we've got those queued up. So as we get ready to show those, let's see which one we're going to be on first here. Because we had the one into the first corner, and then we had the one into the Kleine chicane on the first lap. I think Juteau was involved. In fact, he apologized to everybody taking blame for that first wreck there. Looks like, not sure we have those lined up, unfortunately. Looks like Trangerade was trying to pass on Yolland, though, and very nearly got it done. He was side by side for a while there, so definitely faster. May have lost those positions, and yes, he's not absolutely streaming through the field here, Christian, but he is making them up bit by bit.
Yeah, and we've kind of seen this from Trangerade before, where he can really carve his way through the field. I think second's going to be the limit for him today, because at the moment Shedlick, he's basically adding a second to his lead every single lap, so it's just getting more and more difficult to try and run that down. Nieve's doing a really good job in that second spot, though. He's pulled away from Yolland. He's got almost 2 seconds over him, but it looks like Yolland is kind of where everybody's starting to stack up a bit. You got Trangerade, Olsen, Sanchez. Quellen's off the back of that a little bit, but you know, there's about 5 or 6 cars who are kind of in contention for that third spot.
Ooh, Randy Huff had a spin, and Damian Rickley couldn't avoid. Well, no, he did avoid. Looks like he didn't hit him, but Randy Huff wound up just right in front of him as we come down into the Ick chicane side by side. Desmarais, and it looks like he is fighting with Einerson along with Ang in there, and they've also got Maudsley, a 4-way battle down into Erst. On the inside, that is Andrew Ang, way shallow into the corner, and can't get the spot off of Jacob. Now he's going to have to fight against Magnus, who is on his inside into Sterenvacht.
Yeah, looks like Magnus had it done, but has left room on the outside and left himself a little bit vulnerable here.
As we come down up towards Bianchi out of Canal, looks like it's just going to lose it out. Magnus is able to overtake. Does Maudsley try and take advantage? Put him down 3 spots potentially. He's thinking about it. Comes back to the racing line, though, as they head up the hill. Oh, and it looks like someone behind them going to miss the corner. Tobias Harnvey has got a slowdown penalty as the number 20 falls to 23rd position.
Yeah, and Harvey's had a little bit of a rough race. He obviously had that kind of loop around early on, and has been kind of trying to recover from there.
Just outbraked himself, took the escape, and let that position go. Oh, Trangrade's on the attack again. He seems to be good in this first part of the lap. It's the exact same spot where he was side by side before, around the outside of Yolland, but he's opened himself up. He could leave the door there for Olsen to be able to step through. He gets back in line. And as they come through Bianchi and gets on the loud pedal, ooh, he is really taking some limits on this track, putting 2 wheels into the gravel.
Yeah, and it was kind of right there that both himself and Yallen looked like they were just a little bit wide through Bianchi, and it almost gave an opportunity for the 2 behind of Olsen and Sanchez to make a move.
Something we haven't talked about as much is what this is going to do for that F2 championship. Nieve is setting off like he is intent on nailing down this second place. That is going to be massive points. Yolland as well. Considering most times the points in the F2 championship are almost about half what we see in the F1 championship, this is going to set a few of them almost out of reach.
Yeah, absolutely. And one driver who's probably going to be pretty upset about how this race has gone is Maudsley, actually, because he was up there in 8th place on the grid, but just went around immediately into turn 1 and is all the way back in 21st. So an opportunity to gain a lot of points today has just completely slipped away.
Sometimes those are the hardest to deal with. As we got a little bit of battle behind these two. Olsen, and Olsen goes around as Sanchez is able to get by, but it looks like driver error. I don't think there was contact on that one. Maybe there was actually. I'm double checking it on my screen, and I think there's wheel-to-wheel contact as we watch from above, unfortunately, right there.
Yeah. You just see that tap to the left rear, and that's kind of what I was talking about a little bit earlier in the race with the overlap of lines. You see Olsen's going very, very wide, and by the time they get to the apex, it's just they start to cross over, and as Olsen thinks he's out of the corner, he's getting turned around.
Also, as we look at it from the left side, Trangarade tried to yet again pass Yolland, but Richard has earned his stripes today, and there it is. Just a little touch, and that sent him around. And I think Sanchez did apologize on the radio because I don't think he was totally sure what happened there. Always hard in the heat of the moment to know if you're at fault or not. So hopping on board now as we watch them come down into Boulderberg. I want to give credit to the 11. He has put on a stout defense in these last few laps. Trangarade is a fierce competitor, as we see William Lamb there on 12th for a second. But Yolland, it's not easy to hold this Norwegian back.
Yeah, we've seen from the past that Trangarade is very, very fast, has won many races in the 49, and he's looking for the move now, and I think he's going to get it done here.
It's got the inside of a 3 right-hand sequence. So could this be the position he needs? No, we can't get the traction coming through Canal, and Yolland continues to hold on to this podium position, as Trangarade might be getting a little bit flustered soon. Is he going to run out of patience and try something a little irrational here?
Well, the one thing with Ove is that he just loves to have a race. I truly don't think with Ove that he cares where he is in the field as long as he's having a race. So I honestly think he's having a great time right now.
He's going to try it down into the second chicane. And out of Villeneuve, he finds himself able to accelerate and get that third spot finally. Will Yolland try and fight back? He was on such a great defense. He could try and sneak attack him.
A huge wreck going on. Matthew Maudsley, he's just literally flipped out of the racetrack.
Which is impressive because that was on the first part of the course. We've got tons of runoff. And it looks like, he just found himself clipping tires once again. This is through Canal. And appropriately, it sent him off into the canal here, which is right next to the track. Here's Maudsley, and a car spins in front of him. That's what happens here.
Let's say that's the 23, who I believe is Lance Simon.
Yeah, that's right. So he's the one that originally spun, and I hope that this car gets the new damage model at some point, so we have fewer of these incidents where it just goes tumbling. And off through the Armco it goes in the end. So Maudsley's bad day goes worse. He could maybe get back out on the track, but it's unlikely. I'm expecting that suspension to be toast.
Yeah, I think it might take some time to fish that one out of the canal.
So Jim Shedlick is already overtaking some lap traffic. That's Rasky that he just went by. Nieva is a full 7.5 seconds behind. Somebody very slow here in front of him. That's Juteau's still continuing on with somewhat of a car underneath him. It's looking a little bit less, more worse for the wear there as we look farther back amongst our top 5 coming out of the Boulderberg hairpin. Sanchez is now the next one trying to attack on Yolland. He lost 3rd place. Can he hold on to 4th?
He's going to have a long time to hold on to this position. He's about half the race still to go here.
Down the front stretch, going to stay off to the side. Our lap traffic just making sure to be out of the way. And that was, I believe that was, I missed who that was. I'm trying to find them. Summers, it looks like. Ben Summers, who is trying to stay out of everybody's way. Through to Canal, where we saw that huge incident a bit ago. But Yolland now under attack from Sanchez, and Damian Rickley's had an off in the final chicane. Great exit here, though.
This is one of the best opportunities he's had. He's definitely going to go for the inside here, but, you know, it's difficult.
He's managed to get side by side. Yolland holds his ground, but unfortunately cannot get the speed like Sanchez did, and up into fourth place. So Richard down to P5. And now he's got more competitors. Quellen is starting to approach. Looks like Laust Olsen is quickly coming up to the back of him.
Yeah, we got lap traffic here off to the left. That's going to bunch everybody up a little bit.
Chuteau doing a good job keeping out of everybody's way there. Breaking down into the hairpin, and Sanchez is not done with Yolland. Made him having to defend that time into Boulderberg as they approach the Jackie X chicane. Braking hard. Yolland gains a bit of ground, but not enough that he could really try and get side by side. We're just about, in fact, yes, we have gone past the halfway point in this race. So now we're on the downhill slope, and time is going to run out.
Yeah, Quellen is kind of trying to recover a couple of spots. He started in fourth and slipped back a little bit, but he's still in this fight.
Yeah, this is a great race for Quellen, though. I got to say that not used to seeing him flying this high, and he's managing it well. He's got to watch out for Laust Olsen. That's a driver we've seen continually improve on the channel. Go from maybe a lower mid-pack driver to upper mid-pack, and now someone who actually fights for wins over in Camel GT, and occasionally here, but certainly top fives for Laust Olsen are not uncommon. As they, there you can see the lap comparison, and Trangrade lost a lot of time to Nieva last time out as he's continued to try and chase him down. Wants to try and catch up and take that second place so that he can once again be in the battle for the championship, having sort of been tossed aside last season towards the end and not as much part of the championship hunt. But Nieva is on another level. He's only the second of third that have managed to get under 129. Shedlick's broken that barrier in the race. Nieva has, and Sanchez behind him in the number two.
Yeah, Nieva's having an exceptionally strong race. Obviously, an F2 driver is doing really, really well, and is pretty much in the fight for overall wins here.
And we should clarify for the audience as well, when we say F2, they're not in different machinery, even though back in the days of the 49, they did run races with both kinds sometimes. This is actually a sort of amateur championship. They separate it by iRating. So Jorge Nieva falls in that F2 category because of his iRating, not because of equipment. So this is truly punching above his weight class, I guess you could say. This is impressive stuff for a driver that we've been seeing top tens, but I don't think we've ever seen a podium from him, have we?
I'm not sure. I know last week he was having a really good run as well, but then things kind of got away from him a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't happen to him this week, obviously with his second position, but you know, that'd be a good way to bounce back. And we've seen this from other drivers in the series, not necessarily just the F2 drivers. We've talked a little bit about Laust Olsen, but he's one of those drivers who, you know, we would see him picking up top tens, and he's just gradually moved his way forwards. Obviously, in this race, he's in 7th right now. He's looking at the kind of the back end of the top 5, but you know, he's gone from a driver who would score a couple of top 10s every now and again to just regularly being in the top 10. So it's really cool to see. Obviously, with a car that's such as the 49, that's, you know, it's a little different. It's not kind of common driving style across the iRacing service, but it's cool to see drivers come into the 49 and work their way forwards through the field.
Absolutely. It's such an adjustment. And there you see the number 8 as Plumley now puts on a very good lap. And actually, is that the number 8? Yeah, that is the number 8. So, excuse me, I was looking at, he was 11th. I had my positions rewound. That was Yolland that I was looking at on my screen. So Plumley trying to catch up to Bill Tyler And wow, huge chunks in the last couple laps that he's been taken out of that number 4. So that's for that 10th spot. We'll see if that switches places before this is said and done. Plumlee is up 3 positions, but our hardest chargers in this race look to be guys such as Timothy Porter, who's been up 7. He's got the most positions gained in 16th spot right now. And then a couple drivers that have been up 6. Chiotti into 10th place, and or 9th place rather. And also Randy Huff is up into 15th, up 6 positions. Looks like Porter is getting close to Huff, but he's also got Desmarais there in the number 14, and that's Bruce Snelson. It's also trying to chase him down. Snelson's lost 6, so he's trying to charge his way back through. And it's a very tight fight. In fact, tight enough that Jacob thinks about trying to move. Instead, it turns into a defense. Snelson goes way wide, and that's not going to get him the spot, but pretty good exit off the corner.
Yeah, and he's kind of created his own opportunity here into the final corner. And obviously, Snelson is much further back than he was expecting to be. He's 6 positions back. I'm not really sure why he's actually dropped down there, but obviously trying to execute the comeback in the second half of the race here.
Meanwhile, in front of them, one of our favorite paints of the series, Timothy Porter's Netscape car, as he tries to surf his way to the finish. And Randy Huff just ahead of him. Could he maybe get himself one more spot up? We said Porter, our hardest charger in this race. That's not the way to do it, as Jacob is going to have much better speed, but he's going to have to go the long way around, coming through Bianchi. Job is not done. Now he's got the inside into the Kleine chicane. Much better exit. Looks like Snelson could have a chance to try and attack as well. Porter not going to defend, breaks early, and unfortunately that hard charger award now slips through his fingers.
Yeah, unfortunate for the Netscape machine there. As you say, one of our favorite paint schemes in the series. But, you know, he's still having a really, really good run here. He's still significantly up from where he started. Just a little bit less now. Indeed.
And also worth noting, he's got the 29 on his car out of 30, and he's up to 18. So he's going to get himself a little chunk of I rating as well today. And that'll be a job well done if he can finish there. Olsen, who we look at on screen, is still within about half a second of Quellen. They've dropped away from Yolland. I thought they were a little bit closer than that a bit ago, so I'm not sure if something happened to them or if they just lack pace compared to Richard. They come through the Kleine chicane, no problem for either of them. Certainly can't miss Gary Quellen's car. Love that bright pink nose that he sports on that 7.
Yeah, very distinctive paint scheme, but does look like he's going to be under threat a little bit from last towards the end of the race. Yalland kind of looks like he's now safe at the back end of the top 5. You know, still a really, really good result there, but obviously lost a couple of spots to Trengarated Sanchez.
What if he kind of outdrove himself on the qualifying and put himself up into 3rd a little bit more than maybe even he anticipated? Certainly more than we expected out of him. And doing well, though, holding on to things. The top 5, as we said, is a good result. There you see the onboard with Laust Olsen. Almost no pucker factor today. For those who wonder what I mean by that, he's kind of become known to us as the guy that has this sort of kissy face he kind of does when things get nervous. It's, I think, one of his tics. But he must be very, very calm right now.
Yeah, he absolutely had it last week, and you know, for good reason. I think right when we cut to him, he avoided a pretty sizable wreck, so he did get 2 positions out of it, though, if I remember correctly.
So he comes out of Bianchi, flying down the back stretch. He is very close to Quellen. Not able to attack, though, as they both clomp over the curbs of Kleine. And Quellen gets pretty decent traction. Looking off to the right-hand side a little bit more, but once again, can't get the overlap. But now Quellen turning in early. Not sure if that was defense or what, but that shallow entry, look at how much it cost him. Olsen's closer.
Yeah, he's going to have an opportunity down into the hairpin. It's just a question as to whether he takes it or not. He's going to want the spot, but, you know, they're in a pretty safe position for both of them right now. They've got margin both front and behind. So for Olsen, he's got time to make this pass. He doesn't need to try anything that's kind of crazy to get it done.
I'm sure he wants to just collect whatever points he can get here as well. So I'm not sure if he will be as fussed about trying to make that overtake, although he gets right up underneath that gearbox at times. Certainly seems faster in certain parts of the track, like right here, where he's going to send it to the inside, down into Erst. It doesn't work out. I don't know if that was an actual attempt or if he just got caught out by how early Gary braked.
I think he got caught out there. Colin looked like he was very, very early on the brakes to me, and Laus just really had no other choice but to go to the inside to avoid him.
Wow, okay, so thankfully everybody was heads up, and he was given a little bit of space down there, just enough to back out of it, and thankfully no wreck. I'd hate to see us lose more drivers that are on for an excellent finish here today, as we once again come around into the chicane, and we've got the battle between Olsen and Quellen still stuck at about 0.6 of a second. Oh, bad exit though from the number 5, who is going to extend that up a little farther away. This time by though, we are down to 4 laps to go. Shedlick a full 12.5 seconds ahead of Nieva. And Nieva had a blink, and I thought for a second that he had a wreck. So just a connection problem for the 16.
That would have been disastrous. I think he would have just been absolutely furious if that had happened with 4 laps to go in such a strong position.
It's not only this one that's still pretty tight. Sanchez and Trangrade are within about half a second of one another. As what's going on with the number 2 here? Oh, excuse me. That is Sanchez. Not used to some of these drivers having some of these numbers out there. So missing some of our quicker drivers. Gronkowski unable to be here today. Lap traffic. Jason Steinhurst letting Trangrade by, and now Sanchez as well. So Zabier able to eventually squeak through. The Club Iberia driver stays within that half a second distance. Oh, Laust Olsen has dropped to a full second back of Quellen. Not sure if he had a mistake or something. That's the farthest apart we've seen them for some time.
Yeah, we'll have to check out what's going on there. But whilst this is happening, we've still got that really, really tight fight for 15th between Pau, Desmarais, and Snelson. That's still going on.
In fact, it's side by side right now. That's Jacob around the outside, Snelson on the inside, and he's going to take Bianchi, but he's a little bit wide on the exit. Slow off the corner. The 14 tries to go on the attack. Defensive move from Bruce Nelson. Cuts back, opens the door, but Jacob is not later on the brakes in front of them. That is Randy Huff, who's slow. He had a mistake coming through the Kleine chicane. It is all switching around slow enough. Here comes Jacob, who's going to try to get it 2 for 1. He gets to the inside. Oh, but now that's going to check him up. And I think a little ghost contact sends him around.
Yeah, it looked like he really kind of surprised himself a little bit by how he was pulling the car up. And he's gone around again, recovering it, so losing more positions now.
Yeah, I'll try and check. It's hard to tell if this spun on its own or if there was some net code. Let's watch.
I think it just goes around on his own. It looks like when he kind of lifts out of the throttle to get it pointed, it just kind of kept going around on him.
That was very strange. We're going to watch it again here. Yeah, it does look like he just kind of spun on his own there, which is very strange at that part of the corner. Maybe just overheated the tires, because the second time he goes and loops it and eventually is able to point it forward as Sanchez is almost able to attack on Trangrade, but he's going to cut back on him. And here we go. Great launch, but Ove is wise to that. He covers the inside, leaves a little bit of the door open, comes back to the racing line. Can Sanchez finally get this one done? Another cutback from Ove Trangrade, but he's going to be on the outside once again as it switches into Sternvacht. And coming through this right-hander, now he's got to hold tough around 2 more long way around corners. A little bit of dust kicked up from somebody. I'm not sure who that is. It looks like Trangerade is somehow keeping range. Oh, but 2 wheels into the dirt will put paid to that. Sanchez grabs third.
Yeah, a really nice pass by Sanchez, actually. Oh, it's gone all wrong, though. As he's gone down to first chicane, he's had to cut it. He ended up out on the grass somehow on the entry. That's going to be a huge slowdown for him.
It looks like they both had a mistake here, though. So as they break, it looks like maybe Ove Trangerade's got it. Sanchez going to fight him, though, as they are wheel to wheel. You said that Ove likes to savor these moments, and it looks like he is going to have one to remember as they go wheel to wheel, but breaking deeper. No, it's going to be breaking deeper to Sanchez, but also a little too hot on the tires as it goes around. Trangerade now solidly has it, and even Yolland might be able to get back into fourth.
Yeah, it looks like Yolland is going to get the spot, but Sanchez going defensive into the final chicane here.
More wheel to wheel. Sanchez getting plenty of practice as we go to the white flag lap. Oh, and still the tires don't like it as he squirms under power, but he is safely ahead of Yolland after that one. Here's where it all started to take off. And look at this coming down into the final chicane. Sanchez managing to get side by side, or almost side by side, but then getting the good launch off the corner to really put him under attack. We're not going to be able to watch this replay too much longer as Shedlick has got just about 5 more corners to go.
Yeah, whilst that's happening, we've got a crazy battle actually going on with Quellen, Olsen, and Olsen. They're still fighting it out. It's all been switched around there, though, because John Olsen's got ahead of Laust.
Indeed, and here is the Carolina driver, Jim Shedlick, after some time away. He's come back to the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series and kicked it off with a less than stellar performance back at Bathurst, then took his first win of the season last week when we headed off to Donington. Make it back-to-back now as he wins at Zolder for round 3. Nieva is going to be able to collect that second place. That might just feel like a win for him. And Trangerade, who has earned this third place, it may be one down from where he gridded up, but we'll see if he had fun with that one or not. Yolland, who's in a close fight with Sanchez, is in a race down to the line, and Yolland, I think, got it just barely. Woo! 19 thousandths of a second between them at the line. Good finish for Quellen to grab 8th place. Down 4 spots from where he qualified, but still great points in the F2 championship. Oh, Bill Tyler just went off. What happened to Bill Tyler? I think he just had a wreck.
Yeah, he's got the nose missing here, and it's not really been a good day for Bill Tyler. We've seen him fight for top 5s and didn't qualify inside the top 10, and didn't really move forwards at all, and looked like he just had massive damage early on this last lap and was really just kind of trying to drag it back around.
Okay, so this, coming to the white flag here. So this is coming down into Erst. Is this where he lost control? This is a relatively quick corner. So if he spun it off there, no, and we believe maybe somewhere through these right-handers then, because we saw the damage by the time he hit the Kleine chicane. This has already caused some to loop it out of Canal, but it's not Canal. Bianchi then, I guess, is where he ran out of talent. No, so it was into the Kleine chicane then, I suppose. As he comes to the brakes, into a lapped car. I think that was Steinhurst. Yeah.
And then the 8 of Plumley was somehow involved in that as well. And whilst this was going on, we also had that battle between Olsen, and Quellen. And Quellen, I think, will be mighty upset about what happened in the last corner, because he was in the lead of this group, and he got turned around in quite a spectacular way.
Let's take a look at it before we take off here. Yeah, he's trying to go defensive. He's going to compromise his line into the corner. And just a little bit of contact pops him into the air. and sends him off the track. Both positions lost in the end. But that's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interview, so stick around. Welcome back to Zolder. Round 3 in the Grand Prix Legends Series saw Jim Shedlick romp away with the win. But that really wasn't the story here. Jorge Nieva, an F2 driver, finished in second place ahead of Ove Trangrade, who we know has taken multiple victories in this series, who wound up in third. Richard Yolland also fighting well up to a top 5, getting fourth, and Sanchez having to settle for fifth right behind him with a battle to the line. It was John Olsen who settled for sixth place, and Laust Olsen, no relation, finished in seventh. Gary Quellen finished P8. Marco Chiotti, a bit anonymous from us, but I'm sure he's got a story to tell, going from 15th to 9th. Will Lamb rounds out your top 10.
Rob Plumley, we saw him have a little bit of an altercation on that last lap, but he comes home in 11th ahead of Emmanuel Pera. In 12th, Glenn Becker, a driver that we didn't really talk too much about either, but he went from 13th to 13th, so a solid run by himself. Bruce Nelson having a really, really tough battle towards the end of the race, comes home in 14th. Bill Tyler, I just really got to feel like he's not going to be happy with this week. He went from 11th to 15th with that last lap incident. Randy Hoff, unfortunately, he comes home 16th as well, which, you know, was good, but he was a little bit higher with a couple of laps to go. Timothy Porter, our driver of the Netscape car, he was the last driver to finish on the lead lap in 17th place, with Andrew Eng, Tobias Hanvi, and Jacob Zasmaris rounding out the top 20.
Last one lap down was Damian Rickley, as Gary Ho is 2 laps down in 22nd. Miro Haraski, 7 laps down, but he did finish. He did see the line. So did Ben Summers. In fact, a lot of the drivers we saw get into trouble early on actually brought him back out. Steinhurst, unfortunately, did get in trouble in the last lap, which we saw the replay of. He was 25th, 8 laps down. Juteau crawled home in 26th, Maudsley 27th, and Einerson 28th. Robert Reynolds, back row Bob, was 29th, but Lance Simon was a DNF today in the number 23. We've got Jim Shedlick ready to talk to us, but Jim, congratulations. However, I think you're one of the few that had an uneventful race today. I don't know if you were even aware, but you had quite the battles happening way behind you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Definitely was a less eventful race than usual for me in the series. Really glad to pick up the win and keep it clean.
Now, when you saw the gap that you had in qualifying, 0.7 of a second, what's the emotions you're going through at that moment? Does it encourage you? You think, okay, I got this in the bag? Or do you feel like, well, now I can't throw this away. I can't make a mistake?
Yeah, I've learned in sim racing that as soon as you start to get confident is when you crash. So, never thought it was in the bag until the race was over. I was really happy coming from qualifying, though. Those were probably the 2 best laps I've run on this track. So, I knew if I could just kind of repeat what I did there in the race and be consistent, that'd be okay.
Well, you're going to definitely be in the points lead after this one without Gronkowski here to challenge you. It's looking like you're going to have a bit of a gap before we start counting the drop week. So into Road America, which is a track where the slipstream might make things close. Do you feel appreciative that you have that gap heading off to round 4?
Definitely, yeah. Looking at the schedule, I had actually never raced on the first 3 tracks through Zolder here, so having the lead is great. You're right, though. A lot of the heavy hitters missed out this week and will be taking a drop, so no question they'll be charging hard later in the season. So I just hope to keep up the momentum.
Well, best of luck on that, and congratulations on win number 2. Anybody you want to thank?
Just thank my parents watching my kid outside, so I appreciate that. And also just a quick shout out to this community. I joined the Grand Prix Legends VRS team this week, where the community shares setups and telemetry, and it's pretty special that for a competitive series like that, everyone shares that. So my data is out there now, so anyone who's thinking about joining, give it a try, and you can compare data to anybody else who's out here racing.
That's one thing I love about the sportsmanship in the Grand Prix Legends series. That was Jim Shedlick off to tell the little Shedlick that he won today. As now we get Christian talking to Laust Olsen, who had a lot of fun, but only wound up in 7th.
I was P7 today, but that looked like a really, really fun battle between yourself and John and Gary towards the end of the race. Can you kind of talk us through that? I mean, there was just switching around the whole way, really. I saw a couple of moments with yourself down at the first chicane. You lost out to John, but then you kind of got it back with Gary at the end with that little bit of a moment where he got turned around.
Yeah, that was a really fun battle. Also, a very hard race. I'm sweating pretty much right now. So, but that was great fun. I think I perhaps was a little bit faster than Gary, but couldn't really get in a position to overtake. I think I probably braked a little too late and was too weak off the corner. He seemed to get away from me on the corner exits. So and then he made a couple of mistakes in the chicanes, but I didn't manage to take advantage. So it was first when and John then of course used that moment to one of those moments to get past me. But then he got together with Gary on the last lap, and that gave me back one position. So, but it was great fun. Really a tough track to overtake on or pass on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those ones where it's just very, very narrow, and qualifying is so important here. And next week, the track Road America, it's kind of similar-ish corner types, but just much, much longer straights in between. How different do you think the racing there is going to be?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never really been in pretty good at Road America in the 49, so I'm curious to see if I can find some pace. Today my pace was pretty good, but I'm fearing a little bit for Road America. That's one of my weaker tracks pace-wise, so that's going to be interesting to see.
Well, it's been 2 good results this week and the past week, and you're kind of thinking about any sort of goals for the championship as you go. Obviously, in the Camel Series, you've had some really good races recently as well. It's looking like a pretty good season for yourself, right?
Yeah, my main goal in both series is to avoid making those stupid mistakes that cost me a good position now and then. So I'm trying to take it one race at a time, and I'm pretty sure that if I manage to cut down on all the errors stupid mistakes, then in the end that will also result in a good position in the overall championship. So one race at a time, that's the plan for now.
It definitely seems to be working well. We've seen you pick up numerous top 10s now in the 49, and we hope to see that continue as we go forward to Road America. I know you said a little bit about the track and whatnot, but before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to today?
Yeah, a big thank you to Bill Tyler. We had on the second lap, I think. We had a pretty good battle side by side all the way from turn 1 down to the chicane, I think. So that was a great battle. So thanks for that, and a thank you to you guys also for the great broadcasts you do every week.
Well, thank you for coming and chatting with us once again, and good luck next week at Road America.
Thank you. See you.
That was Laust Olsen, who finished in 7th today. But now we have Timothy Porter, who finished in 17th. But the finishing position really isn't the talking point, Tim, because as someone else who grew up in the 90s, I want to know, where did you get the idea for a Netscape-themed Lotus 49?
Yeah, right on. I appreciate GSRC appreciating my paint. I put a lot of thought into that. I really did. Yes, we grew up with it, and it was new at the time, but Netscape, it's got a soft spot. I got a soft spot for it because they taught us how to surf the internet, really, and I think that's overlooked. And when I was looking for a paint scheme for my car, you can't do much to it. It's a cigar shape. You can't do much to it. So I thought I'd try a unique sponsorship, and Netscape won up just because, I got that soft spot for it.
Well, it makes us smile a lot. You had a pretty good race today, though. You were up by 6. Not a perfect race, a couple mistakes and spins, and we can see a little damage on the car. What's your usual approach out there? Is it just try to get to the end, or do you want to be aggressive?
No, I do not want to be aggressive. This car is hard to drive, but it's very rewarding. It's the funnest one in the game, I think, in the simulator. And it's my goal to race, just to have somebody to race with and stay on the track. And the faster I go, you're right, the finishing position doesn't really matter to me. But as long as I got somebody to race with, and there was a few fellas on track that were behind me, that were in front, that just made it lots of fun. And I really enjoyed the community here. I come out and have a great time.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the community, because we heard from Jim Shedlick as well, talking about how even the fast drivers will share sets. And I've been a part of the 49s for, I think, since basically they got released here on the service. So, I mean, talk a little bit about the viewers that might not be familiar, because it's such a niche car that so many people say, well, I don't want to try it. But what do you, is it the community that draws you in?
Yes, well, I was looking for a classic car to begin with, but I was scared of this one because it's so hard to drive. It is, for what we're used to. It's all skill. There's no downforce. There's no, oh man. But I joined the community here, and the set that I'm using now is from John Olsen. They're all very forthcoming with help, with advice, with setup and training. It's a great spot to be. It really is. And coming here, learning all this, it helps me with my other races too, the other cars. It's all good learning experience from these guys. Wonderful to be.
Yeah, it's because I honestly thought back when I was racing the 49 regularly, anytime I hop into the other car, they always felt tame in comparison.
Yes, that's right. It's so much, making everything else so much easier. It really is.
Well, thanks for coming and chatting to us. We've been wanting to get to talk to you about that Netscape theme, and you have been a joy to talk to. Anybody you want to give a shout out while we got you?
Yeah, brother Cameron's out there. He couldn't join us today. He's involved with some art fields there in South Carolina. And John, thanks again for the setup, and the boys at GPL. It's great. It's a great time to be here.
That was Tim Porter, who finished 17th today, up 6 from where he began in 23rd. That is going to now take us out of the show, but before we go, we want to give a thank you as well to the Grand Prix Legends community for bringing us on, and to our sponsor, the Majors Garage. Make sure and click the link in the description below and use our discount code MajorsGSRC to get 10% off your order. And also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, Christian, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And check out our merchandise stores, gsrc.storenvy.com. Keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned, the next race will be Road America. That'll be Saturday, April 9th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar, because up next, we've got the Camel GT series also going to Road America if you can't wait a week. That'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.